Dover Castle is the town's oldest and most haunted building, high on the White Cliffs. Chris Pascal shows us around this imposing fortress.
It doesn't matter which direction you come to Dover, whether it's along the A20 or the A2. As you approach Dover, it stands on the magnificent White Cliffs of Dover, which are an iconic image of the country anyway, and you just cannot fail but to be astounded by the size and fortification that's here.
Our tour begins at the keep of Dover Castle.
The Great Keep, which is the heart of the castle. It's a 12th century keep, and it was built by Morris the engineer for Henry II, the king at the time. It's about 100-foot cube, really. It's 95 by 96 by 97, and it's made of the Caen stone from Normandy and Kentish ragstone, which was brought from the other side of Folkestone. So you have this brilliant yellow and grey stripes all the way up the keep itself.
Moving around the castle grounds, we uncover two buildings built next to each other from two very different periods.
The Pharos towers above us. It was actually built by the Romans here, and what it was a lighthouse. It was one of three. There was one on the Western Heights, there was one at Boulogne, and these were lit day and night so that the Roman fleet could travel up and down the channel and into the port of Dover safely. And if you look, you can see the red brick, the red stone that lends itself to the Roman building that was here at the time. The church that we're sitting beside was a Saxon church, and you can actually see the doorway just to our right, which was the original entrance to the church. And the thing about this site is nothing was ever left to go to Rackham. Everything was utilised. So when stone was removed from one part of the site, it was actually used to rebuild another part. So you'll see bits and pieces actually on the Saxon church that came from the Roman Pharos. So everything was adapted. Of course, it's got the great stained glass windows inside, and it's still used now. This has always been a military base. Our last garrison left here in 1958. And then from Connaught Barracks as well. There are great links between the military and the church that we're sitting beside here. And if you do come up here and you go into the church, do take time to look at the great standards that stretch from one end of the nave to the other, which are all of the Lord Wardens of the Cinque Ports, which of course ties in very nicely with our constables of Dover Castle.
Visitors all enjoy one particular attraction at the castle.
They love the wartime tunnels. It's the biggest attraction we have on the site. They weren't opened until the mid-1990s, and it's all part of that experience. And it's also very recent history, so people find it easier to relate to because their nan or their granddad or their uncle actually might have served whilst they were down there.
We are now going underground into the secret medieval tunnels.
The stone that we're looking at is of the 13th century. It was built after the siege of 1216 to enable Hubert de Burgh to move his troops from inside the safety, the inner curtain wall, to outside. And as you can see from this here, you can see where the chalk is sitting in and where we get seepage that comes through. You end up with little stalactites coming down. It's one of the places that sticks mostly in people's minds. We get a lot of people come back who visited as children, and they always say, where's the dungeons? They don't actually have any dungeons, but then when they talk about the automatic doors, you know that the place that they're thinking of is the medieval underground.
Dover Castle has its fair share of spooks and ghostly tales.
We do ghost tours during the winter months, which are always very well received. And there are, as a child I remember being frightened of the headless drummer boy that actually walks along the battlements. We do have paranormal investigators. The only all-night vigil we've ever had was back in 1991. But we have had other mediums and paranormal investigators back since that time, but generally they set up early evening, and then by about 2 o'clock, 2:30, they leave the site. We're always most interested in any findings that they have, and when we do the ghost tours, we encourage people to take photographs and then send back to us if they found anything that's unusual in there.
Staff have even reported strange, ghostly experiences.
I haven't seen a ghost, but I have heard sounds that couldn't be explained, and I have been in the wartime tunnels, which is a strictly no smoking area, and I've been standing with a group of people and suddenly you can smell cigarette smoke.
You man, take your feet off the carpet. Only the king can stand there.
We have what we call the magic carpet, and it's a modern invention, I have to say, but when you stand on it, it shouts at you and gives you commands, because it tries to teach people that when you enter the throne room you need to have your head bowed, and that you were not allowed to stand in certain places because that was only where the king could stand. And it helps people to sort of like get a sense of it. And we actually broke down one day. It's another reason why I love this job. And we had a little girl come up who'd been with the school and found the magic carpet, and then she'd come back with her mum and her dad so that to get him to stand on the carpet. He stood on the carpet wasn't working, which was very, very disappointing. So they came to find me, so I said, get your dad to stand on the carpet. And I hid around the corner, and as Dad stepped on the carpet, I shouted at him to get off the carpet.
There's never a dull day when visiting Dover Castle, as you just don't know who you might bump into.
We do have quite a lot of filming up here because of the different things we can offer. We have such a wide range, ranging from our Roman pharaohs, right the way up to our Dumpy level, which was to be used as the regional seat of government in the event of a nuclear war, so right up until the 60s, 70s. So we have a huge range that we can offer, and it's a way of helping our site to flourish. So yes, we've had historical programmes. We've had Coast up here that did a series. We also had Dan Snow up here. We went out in tunnels, out underneath the Deal Road in the pitch dark, and of course we also had a Hollywood blockbuster filmed here quite recently, The Other Belinda.
People should visit Dover Castle to experience King Arthur.
Should visit the castle because it's such a special place. It's Camelot on your own doorstep. It is an amazing place, and we love being here. We absolutely love being here. What I would say is when you do come up here and you find one of us to talk to, you need to allow plenty of time, because once we start talking, as you found out, we just can't shut up about it.
If this has made you want to die as a knight in shining armour, why not visit Dover Castle today?